All right, so here is the engraved and cut acrylic piece. Now, a few things you're going to see in the video is that the design is inverted. Now, it's kind of hard to see here, but this is the back of the acrylic, so we etched the design backwards so that when we flip it over and we have the nice shiny front, it's all nice and shiny, and the scratchy engraved part is on the back. So that's one thing that you'll see in the video. Another thing is we talk about the straight edge along the bottom and how wide that has to be in order to fit into the base. And this is a rough draft of the base. You can see there are LEDs inside, and that slit is about 5 inches. And the piece of acrylic we cut was a little less than that. That way when we slide it in there, it lights up nice. Now, hello students, so this tutorial is going to be mostly about Photoshop, and it's going to take you through a few additional tools that you can use to prepare a graphic for the engraving operation on the laser cutter. So just to refresh memory, the raster graphics, which are the graphics that we have that are made out of pixels, are the ones that the laser cutter will use to do an engraving operation onto a surface. So for the acrylic piece of our lamp, we're going to be picking a graphic that we like. And so for my example here, I'm going to pick this year's McLaren race car here. And there's some stuff that I have to do to this image before I am able to engrave it. First of all, the color needs to get out of here. So I am actually going to hit the print screen button on my keyboard, which is going to copy the screen of my laptop. And I'm going to open up Photoshop. This here is what the image will look like when we're done. But I'm going to start from the beginning so you can see. So we are going to make a new file. And generally when we work with the laser cutter, we are going to make a file that has inches as the measurement, just like before. And also we are going to make it the size of the piece of material we're going to be working with. So I'm going to be giving you guys a piece of 6" by 6" acrylic. So you guys are going to be working with a piece of 6 by 6, and we're going to put the resolution at 150, and then we're going to hit create. So that way we know this is how much of an area we have to work with. Now, just like we were doing before, we are going to make a fresh layer, and we are going to do a control paste, and that's going to drop that picture of the car right onto my canvas here, but of course it doesn't fit. So just like before, we can either go up to edit and we can do a free transform, or we can do a control T, which is the way I like to do it. And that's going to allow us to shrink down. And remember, I'm holding the shift key as I go to keep the dimensions the way I want them. And almost. Let's go this way this time. And that's probably about right. Actually, I want the McLaren logo too, so hang on, I'm gonna do something a little fancy here. I'm gonna hit enter. I'm gonna take my rectangular selection tool here, and I'm gonna draw a box around the McLaren logo. And I am going to do an edit cut. I'm going to make a fresh layer, and I'm going to do a control V for a paste. And so now I have the McLaren logo separate, but I'm going to hide that because I don't want to have that right now. Anyways, back to my transform. Let's get the car to fit. Okay. So, obviously we don't want all this business, and last time we worked on different ways of selecting, and of course the magnetic lasso was a really great tool to use to trace over and stick to an edge. So that's real quick. We're just gonna but that's what I did there. And then we can do an inverse of the selection, and that will, rather than having the car selected, it will flip that and do everything else, and then we can hit delete, and there goes the background. Okay. Click to get rid of our selection there. Okay, so here's our car, and well, that's fine. We can just delete. Okay, so here's the car, and in our image over here, you'll see there's a few things that happened. So first of all, we got rid of the color, we flipped it around so it's inverted, and also there's two versions of it here, and I'll explain why in a moment. So we can, there's still a little extra on the edge there, delete that. Okay. And I'm also going to bring up that McLaren logo, and I want to add that to my graphic this time around. Oops, had the wrong layer selected. We want that one, so I can select that title, blow it up a little bit. Can't go too much because it'll get a little pixelated there, but I'm trying to decide if it looks better above the car or if I should do it below the car. See. It's a little fuzzy, but it's not horrible. Now notice I'm going to drop it behind the other layer so I can put it closer. Okay,